Tell me a little bit how the Harris-Walz ticket can actually bring in independence.
In states like Nebraska, where we're very much a populist and independent state, where you have that streak still from the homesteader days, Harris and Walz are really able to attract those folks for a couple of things. Freedom is very important to folks. A lot of times in rural areas, we say if it doesn't bother the cattle, it doesn't bother them, doesn't bother me. And Tim Walz kind of uses this, mind your own business. That's how folks in kind of rural states, red states, want our government to operate. And I think, Harris and Walz, whether it's abortion rights or medical decisions, they are talking about a freedom message where we get to make decisions for our lives rather than somebody in a suit. Independents now in some states are 50% of the vote. In Nebraska, they're 30% of the vote. So for our party, we've been really encouraging independents to vote in our primary. We even made that a party rule where you don't have to be a Democrat to vote in our primary. We welcome independents. And so you'll see specific targeting of ads to independents, voter guides to independents, and vote by mail applications. So, these may sound foreign to folks that are listening, but these are basically the technical tools that we as a party use to reach voters in order to make sure that they have the information on how to vote, because that's a big barrier sometimes for voters who have felt like they're on the sidelines. And Michelle Obama talked about this last night too. She was like, look, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or none of the above, we welcome you into this party.
No, that's fascinating. Nebraska has some very interesting, rules, right,
Yes.
around in the electoral process. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about your thoughts. They're being challenged as we speak.
That's right. So Maine and Nebraska are the only two states that split our electoral votes. So all the other states are winner take all for the Electoral College. We split it by congressional district, which is a way more fair way. So even in California, there are red congressional districts, and those folks should have an ability to campaign and have a presidential candidate come in order to earn their votes. So the Republicans, and especially Trump, are trying to change the law right now. We have the vote still to block them from changing it. It's a fair electoral vote system, but obviously if it's a 269 electoral college vote, at the end of the day, the Nebraska's second congressional district can be the one vote that sends either Trump or Kamala Harris to the White House. So it is a hot issue right now in our state.
Yeah, and Nebraska is a smaller state, of course,
Yes.
and very rural and so forth. And sometimes, at least I've heard people say that these states aren't as important. Mm-hmm. What's your reaction to that?
And that's why it's important that Tim Walz is on the ticket. He's from a rural community. He understands the way that we think and the culture that we're trying to protect, which is mostly agriculture, protecting our way of life, small towns, public schools. And so, the disdain, unfortunately, that some Democrats on the coast have had for rural communities, we need to break through that, because the reality is rural communities are the ones that put food on our table, and they're ones that power our communities. And so me, Governor Walz, and many others are really trying to bring that populist independent streak back into our party so we can bring rural voters back in. I will just be very honest that before Harris and Walz were our nominee for president and vice president, there was a lot of dismay and kind of feeling like we are Eeyore walking into the election. That's a Disney reference for folks that don't know that. He's like always depressed and very sad. And now there's all this energy and excitement. So before we would have 10 people do phone banking. Now we have 50 people do phone banking. We'd be able to raise $5,000 a month online. Now we're raising $15,000. All of that helps our down ballot candidates, because the energy, if you're voting for the top of the ticket, you're there, and we send out voter guides to make sure Democrats and independents know who the Democrats are on the ballot. So that's going to help our entire ticket, which means we not only have governing at the top, but we have governing at all levels.